What's up, guys? This is Ray Reinhardt's Red Pill Rebel. So this is just something I actually found buried in my files on my hard drive, and it was me actually referencing from textbook references, specifically the sociology dictionary, about the origin of feminism and defining feminism and the different factions, like the first wave, the third wave, and everything, and the striking and shocking correlation between the concept of Islamophobia, safe spaces, and the whole Marxist fascist things, and how the phenomenon that everybody seems to be so shocked and put back by, that feminism is infusing or supporting the narrative of the Muslim Brotherhood and Islamophobia and Islam in general. For example, like there's Linda Sarsour, who is quote-unquote one of the leaders of the Women's March and quote-unquote a feminist and a prominent Muslim figure. And most sane people, us red pill people, are trying to understand the process of how these people can support Islam when everything that Islam represents on their fascist ideology goes completely against everything that the original core concept of feminism are fighting for. So this video is old, and I was doing this more as a rant sort of thing, and it was actually interrupted towards the end, so it seems really abrupt. But this is just kind of an intro if you want to hear the actual textbook definitions of feminism. And this is more of a easing in sort of intro video to one of the controversial topics that I'm going to talk about, with the fusion and the conspiracy with the Muslim Brotherhood infiltrating modern leftist ideology, feminism, and Marxism, and correlating how Adolf Hitler's SS sort of plans and indoctrination with their step-by-step methodology or methods to basically infiltrate and enslave all of Germany, and how it's being reproduced or it's being modernized in modern Islam by using the leftists as their pawns. Because I don't try to talk about trendy shit, I try to talk about real shit. And even though some real shit is now being trendy, I seem to still be the counter narrative to the real trendy shit, because I can never be supportive of people's narrative. I can support the fact that people have different opinions, but if you have a right to say something or express an opinion, you need to understand and remember I have every right to make fun of you. That being said, I'm going to actually talk about something that is an issue that I've seen, and something that I have been noticing, at least with some of the trendy bullshit that is on YouTube specifically. I would say YouTube specifically because I actually haven't met any of these characters, so I don't know. I assume that they're real, but just because of the fact that it almost seems like there's this disconnect as if it's a fictional thing. I've never seen any of them myself, and probably for their own good, they never want to come near me anyway. Yeah. But anyway, so there's this correlation between this narrative for Islamophobia and feminism. And I understand what the original concept of feminism is. It's empowering women and trying to show that women should not only be equal to men, but are actually better than men, and need to be validated and recognized as being the superior gender as opposed to an inferior gender role. That's what feminism, at least from a dictionary standpoint or a thesaurus, if you looked in like a sociology dictionary, would constitute. I actually have this book called Dictionary of Sociology. Feminism. This doctrine originated in the late 18th century, suggests that women are systematically disadvantaged in modern society and advocates equal opportunities for men and women. It also is a social movement which has gradually improved the position of women in the 20th century. Western societies in respect of voting rights, position in the workplace and in marriage. Feminism in the early part of the century was oriented mainly to winning political or legal equality. Second wave feminism from the 1960s onwards showed, however, that women still have a way to go in securing equal rights and opportunities. Feminist ideas have had a great and deserved influence in sociology. In recent years, feminist sociologists have argued that sociologists, who are mostly men, have neglected the sociological significance of women in all areas of the subject. For example, many studies of the social stratification have, until recently, concentrated on the paid work of men as a detriment of the class position of women family members. Sociology is now far more sensitive to issues of gender and feminism, and has had a substantial influence on the social theory. Feminist criminology? Feminist methodology. See feminist social theory. Okay, feminist social theory. 20th century feminist social theory cannot be isolated or understood separately from feminism as a social movement, as the feminist movement has changed from being a campaign for equal rights in the 1920s to being a radical movement of fundamental gender equality at the work and in the domestic activities, legal relations, and cultural practices. So feminist social theory has evolved through a variety of forms: liberalism, Marxism, and postmodernism. In general terms, feminist social theory is concerned to understand and explains the subordinate position of women in society by reference to gender differences, and subordinate position of women in society by reference to gender differences, and specifically in terms of the theory of patriarchy. Oh god, now I sound like that redhead lady. Ugh. Wait, when was this book made? If this was made before 2009. 2006. Okay. Where were you published, you son of a bitch? Well, first published in 1984, but I mean, it's probably been... Yeah. Second edition 1988, third edition 1994, fourth edition 2000, fifth edition 2006. Can I have the first edition, please? Before people started fucking with definitions. By the way, go look on Google. Go get a dictionary out, not anything that's been recently published, but at least like a 10-year-old dictionary. Obviously, it's not going to have the acronyms for, social media shit in it, and I'm sorry for that. You can go cry in a sacred space or safe space with some of your other friends who give a fuck about that. But if you go actually look at, real definitions and terms within the English language and compare them to what Google thinks they are, you'll find some really interesting, differences. I'm just gonna go with that. Where was I? Feminist versions of equal rights doctrines, which had their philosophical origins in M. Wollstonecraft of Vindication of the Rights of Women in 1792, were eventually expressed through the suffrage movement, which attempted to remove various political and social barriers to women's full participation in society. These reformist struggles can be interpreted as political attempts to achieve citizenship for women. Okay. The first wave of feminism was primarily concerned with the problem of formal equality between men and women. Yeah, that's what it essentially used to mean. Oddly enough, that was in the 1920s, and that was when Uranus was also in Aries. Yes, I also have to tie this into astrology. But synchronicity, even if you're not into astrology so much, most people that are into at least social studies and psychology know who Carl Jung is. And Carl Jung does talk about astrology. If you missed that or overlooked that, you can go look it up. And Google actually does have a little bit of accurate information on that still. But if not, you can always just go, old school and go to a bookstore. Go buy some of Carl Jung's books, and you can see it yourself. In the 1960s, feminists assumed a more radical focus, seeking a revolutionary transformation of society as a whole. In theoretical terms, this radical turn involved the adoption of ideas from a variety of radical traditions, including Marxism,
psychoanalysis, and anarchism. In America, the second wave feminism was associated with the struggle of civil rights for black people. This political struggle produced a view of the subordinate of women view that the subordination of women was comparable to the colonization of blacks under conditions of imperialism. Black and female liberation has to take place not only in economic and political terms, but also on a level of psychology and culture. This struggle against patriarchy was also associated with anti-militarism and the ecological concerns about the environmental destruction of the planet. Social hierarchy, racism, warfare, violence. I love how racism's... Look at... See, I think this is why they tried to redo this book, right? Let's see. It's right there. It's kind of hard to see, but you notice... I notice little stupid shit like that. The word racism's in caps and in completely different font. I went to art school, took graphic design, typography, marketing. I know what the fuck that is insinuating. That's subliminal messaging to emphasize that. So now I understand why this book was republished in 2006. Because also the other words that have that same kind of font and in caps is feminism, patriarchy, imperialism, and racism. Only those words within this entire page here of a definition. Long definition. Until maybe a woman wrote this out. And I would know, because I talk way too much. I wish I could not sometimes. I try to not to. Yeah, but I'm a woman. Women can't shut the fuck up. Right, boo? Yeah. Yep, see? And I don't get mad, I like validation. I just don't like malicious attacks, character assassinations.
No, I don't mind. I'm quiet enough for both of us.
Yeah, I know. If he talked, it would be bad. Me and my cat already go at it too. Me! Me! Me, 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 me! Me, me! I've argued with my cat even. Okay, so it says, racism, warfare, violence, and environmental destruction were seen to be the effects of men's psychological need for dominance and social organization of patriarchy. In Britain, the occupation of the Greenham Common, a U.S. air base where 96 cruise missiles were sighted in March 1982 by 250 women, is one illustration of the feminist opposition to male militarism. In young 1990, violent sports, domestic violence, pornography, and rape were also treated as general manifestations of the male violence towards women. Wait. I can hit a man. I can commit domestic violence. I know women that watch porn. And there are actually legitimate videos that are uploaded to porn sites of women, sexually abusing men. So, I guess those are the ones that have a gender confusion? That makes sense, I guess, right? Let's just blame it on that. They're supposed to be men.
I've probably seen some of the videos you're talking about.
Yeah. So, let's see. At the level of a social theory, there were many experiments to combine feminism with various branches of socialist and critical theory. Oh, critical theory is written by that one idiot, isn't it? The key publications in the second wave feminism were S.D. Beauvoir, it looks like behavior, but it's not. The Second Sex of 1949. The Millet Sexual Politics in 1969, and Firestone's The Dialectics of Sex in 1970. I think that's funny because that was when Pluto was in Leo. And that was when, obviously, fifth house, all about pleasure and that sort of thing. Yeah. So the guys who wrote that in those years specifically. Let's see. In the Longest Revolution in 1974, in the 1980s, 1990s, feminist social theory was influenced by the post-structuralist and post-modernist analysis, following post-modernist emphasis on difference. It's the longest freaking definition ever. Plurality feminist theory argued that the tradition of feminism analytics tended to reflect the viewpoints. Okay, hold on, I'm just gonna skim through this. This is fucking bullshit. Viewpoints of white, middle class. Okay, so I'll at least mention this part. It is claimed that third-wave feminism is more sensitive to local diverse voices of feminism and rejects universalistic perspective on a single feminist standpoint. Some of the critical publications of contemporary feminism include In a Different Voice. I'm not going to read out those titles because I'm not going to enable any idiot that thinks that they want to jump on this bandwagon or something and is using my information to then further educate themselves to become a gremlin on society. Sorry, go look it up yourself. I'm not telling you the books. So blank, 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 blank. They were written in 1982, 1984, 1987. Aw, that's the year I was born. That's bullshit. 1989. Well, fuck you. Now you ruined the 80s for me. In 1988, it says, feminist theorists such as blank are anxious that postmodernism will dilute feminist criticism of patriarchy and undermine the ability to act as a unified political movement, because modern relativism will challenge the universalistic thrust of feminist opposition to the male dominance. Some postmodern feminists claim that traditional forms of female oppression still exist in the modern society and feminist politics cannot be abandoned prematurely. So I'm not going to read any more of this crap because I'm going way too long, and that's what I was trying to avoid here, but I just when I tried to actually go against something in particular, I end up completely contradicting that, and that's the whole, being a deviant or rebellious or whatever. But, so what I am seeing here, this is the correlation that I have with feminism and Islamophobia. So feminism and Islamophobia, the platform and movement, are one and the same, and I will explain it this way. Both movements are narratives to serve two essential purposes, initially. And this was something that I was commenting on before I actually read into this. Because I've had this book for a while, but I haven't actually read that part, because I would never do that, because I don't care about it. The two narratives, or the two purpose, effective consequences, I guess, of these narratives is mass confusion, manipulating social norms. I don't have to explain what social norms are, since most of you people are in fucking social studies. And then annihilating the narrative opposition. So, and then after reading that, and I've thoroughly looked into, the Islamic culture and, like, the demographics that are over in the Middle East, etc., etc. So, the one thing that I'm noticing here is that the people who claim to be this third wave feminism, they're getting upset because they picked a word or a culture or a subculture organization that is what people are accusing them of being. In the 1960s, clearly, obviously the first wave of feminism was just to fight for us to be able to vote as women and to let us come out of the damn house so we don't have to act like Muslims. And that was when we strayed away from that barbaric culture. Then in the 1960s, because of this Uranus-Pluto conjunction, actually, which we're going through the square now, there was this unity thing that, like, all the minorities, meaning civil rights, which, had a valid reason to do so, the civil rights of, minorities and African Americans, and then also feminists getting on board and saying, we totally understand your plight and we're getting on with you. And they were trying to, as if, join together to stop who created the country.